Can you provide an introduction to who you are here at ASU?
Sure, yes. So my name is Ann McKenna, and I am the Vice Dean for Strategic Advancement for the Fulton Schools of Engineering and also a professor in engineering.
What was your pathway to leadership?
Sure, so my pathway to leadership, I think about that from not just my experiences, but also in the way I think about what the word leadership means. And so can be associated with formal titles, which is reasonable, but also I think of leadership in terms of the way we interact on a day-to-day basis with the individuals that we work with. And so I think it's those two things together that kind of define my pathway to leadership. And so my formal title as a vice dean that has signals a role of leadership. And the pathway to the vice dean, have been fortunate to have several positions. I've been a department chair, I've been a director, I've served as a program officer at the National Science Foundation. So some of those formal leadership titles I've had along the way, which has been a great learning experience for me. But if I also think about the day-to-day interactions, which I think are equally important, are how you approach situations such that when you demonstrate or you're in a situation, you're showing and living up to the way you're hoping that others would too, if you're serving in that leadership role. So that means being committed, doing the best work that you can, staying positive, supporting others. In fact, as I think about leadership, leadership is often more about others than it is about yourself. And so how is it that you're making those connections to others and helping and being supportive of others' successes? And with that comes even more success, including your success as a leader. So to the extent that those you're working with in a leadership capacity are also being successful, everyone is succeeding. And so I've had a great set of experiences at different types of institutions, different academic institutions, government agencies, industry. And so I think all of those provide a good perspective on what helps me to be in a leadership role today.
So, what made you passionate about equity?
So I think all of our life experiences contribute to the way we think about the world and shape our passions and what we hope to do to make a difference. And so a couple of things about me as we think about equity, because that could mean a lot of things depending on your life experiences. So I am a first generation college graduate. I'm the youngest of 5 and the only one who's graduated from college. And so that provided me with a sort of life experience and life perspective on, as we think about equity and inclusion, how do we think about it broadly so that those who may not have had the experiences that everyone can succeed. I also happen to be in a profession that has worked hard to become more inclusive and diverse over the years, but is still working to make that better. And so as a female in engineering, that also provided me with a set of life experiences that always feeling like in some ways you're outside looking in, because the majority of those around you have a different set of life experiences. So I think that combination of things makes me think about how to approach the topic of equity and inclusion, and more as I think about my career in the stage that I'm at, it's become more of a focus, because I have the opportunity now to think about that in not only in my day-to-day interactions as I think about leadership, but also in that formal role as a vice dean, that I can use that now as a way to enact change in a more formal way.
So now you're talking to your younger self. What are some things that you would say to your younger self?
So my younger self was okay. But as I think about my past, and you know, I don't necessarily like to look back at I say to myself even today, you do the best you can at the time you're at, and when you know better, do better. And so I would look back and I would say, you know, just be yourself, be confident, take chances, don't worry about what others think, know yourself, and stick with it. I think that as we grow, as we're young and growing into adulthood, sometimes there's a tendency to you're trying to figure out who you are as it relates to everyone else that's around you. And if you have a strong sense of self, just maintain that strong sense of self no matter what the situation. Stay true to that. And so that's one of the things I might say to my younger self.
How do you see your current role in supporting equity?
So as the Vice Dean, this does provide a formal leadership role. So one of the things that we're working on in the Fulton Schools of Engineering, we've started a diversity and inclusion task force, and it's an initiative that we really want to be proactive and visible in taking the effort that's needed to make the Fulton Schools of Engineering as diverse and inclusive as possible. And so the way we think about that, diversity, the different types of individuals that are within our organization, and wanting to optimize that and maximize that, but at the same time making it so that the environment is one that all of the diverse individuals can thrive and succeed. So we have a lot of control over the environment we create. And so being very intentional and mindful of the kinds of things that we do in terms of our interactions so that it is inclusive, to really have an inclusive mindset. And with that, hopefully comes a more diverse and successful workforce, students, faculty, staff. The organization has much more potential to be successful.
Thanks. Do you have any final remarks that you'd like to make?
So final remarks are that in a leadership role, it is a service role. And so to the extent that I am providing service back to ASU, to the Fulton Schools of Engineering, to my colleagues, to my students, I will do what I can to be of that service. And so I'm happy to continue in that role and to hear suggestions for what we can do to do better.